ask, first of all, from the participants, well, first of all, from the instructors, is there anything from your specific rooms, your breakout rooms, that you wanted to bring up and make sure that we address in general to the whole group?
Maybe just two quick points I want to make. Maybe Omar, this is not specifically about this exercise, but we realize there's a wide range of expertise, and I just want to remind you that there are a lot of instructional tools that are available from all of our previous workshops, all of the workshops we run moving forward, as well as the YouTube videos. Please do take advantage of that. Second point, for those of you who are attending the molecular parasitology meetings next week, we will be staffing help desks during all of the poster sessions. It's really easy, drop into the table. We'll be happy to walk through with you these exercises or answer any other questions that you have. And third and finally, please do click on the Contact Us link anytime you encounter a question. Remember, this is very different than you calling me up to ask me if I can track down a plasmid that somebody in my lab made 10 years ago and send to you. That's a hassle for me that I should pursue and try to fulfill when possible. But answering questions about this website is our job for those of us who are facilitators and are on this call, right? This is why we're here, and I know you don't want us to lose our jobs. So please do ask questions or make suggestions whenever you think there are improvements to the website.
So one concept from my group, I think that was useful to that we had to spend a little bit more time talking about, and that was the step where you had Plasmodium falciparum 3D7 genes, and then you ran a search on Plasmodium cynomolgi liver stages, and then you intersected the results, and you got 0 results. And maybe I should share my screen here to show this. Okay, so let's go back here and to the strategies. So I'm going to go ahead and take a few steps back. So I'm going to delete a couple of steps, but you ran a search. Let's see, the website is a little bit slow. There we go. So you ran a search here for, I think everybody can see my mouse. You ran a search here for SNPs in Plasmodium falciparum 3D7, and you intersected the results of these SNPs. So if you look at these SNPs, they're all 3D7 results, and you intersected them with this list of 92,000 genes that have transmembrane domains or signal peptides from all Plasmodia, and you're left with 1,605 genes. And if you looked at them, you'll notice that they're all 3D7 genes, which makes sense because your SNPs were all called from Plasmodium falciparum 3D7 isolates. The next step was to run a search for genes that are expressed in liver stage parasites. And when you went to look for RNA sequence data from liver stages, there were only 2 experiments, and one of them was from Plasmodium cynomolgi, and the other one I think was a Vivax experiment. And so we picked the cynomolgi experiment, which is shown right here, and you got 2,236 genes returned, but those results were all cynomolgi genes, which is, of course, this was a cynomolgi experiment, so you should get back cynomolgi genes. And when we tried to intersect them previously, before I did the orthology transform, you got 0 results. And the reason for that is that you're trying to combine a list of genes from cynomolgi and a list of genes from falciparum, and you're trying to say what's in common between them, and the answer, well, 0, they're different genes. It's the same thing as if you have a basket of apples and a basket of oranges, and you're trying to ask, well, how many oranges are in my basket of apples, right? The answer is 0. So somehow you have to take your oranges and convert them into apples first before you can do this kind of comparison. I know it's a bad analogy, but I think that's the best I could come up with right now. So the way you do this is we take these cynomolgi genes and we transform them by orthology to Plasmodium falciparum genes. And so now these 2,236 genes have 1,196 orthologs in Plasmodium falciparum. And now you look at those, they all have the right gene ID format. And now the intersection gives you 366 genes that have a signal peptide or transmembrane domain, that have at least 5 non-synonymous SNPs, and are expressed or differentially regulated in the liver stage of, or are orthologs of differentially regulated in liver stage of synomology, right? So you're assuming by orthology that the falciparum genes may have a similar function in the similar stage, right? It's an assumption. Okay, any other questions about this strategy? Do we have additional comments or questions? I'm looking in the chat to see if anybody wrote anything. Any questions?
I don't see any questions in the chat or hands raised. If there are questions, feel free to speak up or use either of those mechanisms.
Okay, so what I would encourage, I mean, I'm happy to demo the rest of the strategy if you want, but I won't bore everybody with it. So I'm happy to stay on other instructors if you still have time.